In the world of law, there are some terms we use all the time, but if you stop and ask what they really mean, things get fuzzy. Legal construction is a perfect example. It's a concept that has been puzzling legal minds for centuries. Today, we're going to get to the bottom of this, and this explainer is based on the works of Professor Kiskinov.
So here's how we're going to tackle it. We'll start with what legal construction is supposed to mean and why it's so confusing. Then, we'll take a quick trip back in time to see where the idea came from. After that, we'll look at the big questions that the old theories just couldn't answer. And then, we'll explore a powerful new way of looking at it that finally brings some clarity.
All right, let's dive right into the core problem. The term legal construction is everywhere in law, but what is it? It's been this big 200-year-old puzzle sitting right at the heart of legal science.
Now, if you look up a definition, you get something like this: a mental formation that generalizes diverse phenomena. And right away, you can see the issue. That is incredibly broad. When a single concept is trying to cover everything from a single fact to an entire legal system, it starts to lose its meaning.
And just look at the sheer range of things it's been used to describe. The same term is used for massive systems like continental law, for something specific like a contract, for a legal entity like a corporation, and even for purely abstract ideas. It's no wonder everyone's been so confused.
So how did we end up with such a tangled concept? Well, to figure that out, we need to head back to 19th century Germany. That's where this whole idea first started taking shape.
You see, the idea didn't just appear out of nowhere. Early on, you had thinkers like Savigny and Puszta talking about law in this new, more systematic way. But the real game changer was Rudolf von Nering. He was the first one to really dig deep into legal construction, and his work set the stage for the entire debate that followed. And this quote from Savigny, it tells you everything about the mindset at the time. He didn't see interpretation as just reading words on a page. He saw it as rebuilding the hidden logic of the law itself. That idea, that law has an internal structure you can reconstruct, was revolutionary, and it paved the way for Jering. But here's where we hit the real source of all the confusion. We call it the Jering paradox. You see, on one hand, Jering talked about construction as a method. It was a technique, an artistic process for jurists. But then, in the same breath, he talked about its result as a legal body, an object that could be better or incorrect. So which is it? Is it the act of building, or is it the building itself? He never really gave a clear answer.
And because he never resolved that paradox, the legal world inherited this deep ambiguity. Jering had pointed to something incredibly important, but he left behind a trail of really fundamental, unanswered questions.
First off, what are the building blocks? What is a legal construction actually made of? Are its parts abstract ideas, or are they concrete legal rules? The historical theories were all over the place on this, leaving the very foundation of the concept completely shaky.
Okay, and let's say it is a structure. Well, how does it actually work? What holds the parts together? What is its job inside the bigger machine of the legal system? Jering gave us this fascinating idea of legal bodies, but he forgot to include the user manual.
And this leads to the deepest question of all. What kind of thing is it? Does a contract exist out there in the world as a real part of our legal reality? Or is it just a mental model, a convenient shortcut that lawyers use to think? This question about its very existence was a huge philosophical roadblock.
So you have these huge questions about what it's made of, how it works, and what it even is, and they just lingered for more than a century. To get past them, we needed a whole new perspective, and that's exactly where Professor Kiskinov's work comes in, using a modern, systemic approach to finally solve this historical puzzle.
This new approach really boils down to three key moves. First, you treat legal constructions like systems, things you can actually break down into components, connections, and functions. Second, you recognize they're everywhere in law. But third, and this is the absolute crucial step, you finally make a clean break between the construction as a thing and the method used to build it. This simple distinction solves the Jering paradox for good. So what's the simplest way to get your head around this? Think of it like this. A legal construction is the architectural blueprint for a piece of legal reality. A corporation, a mortgage, a treaty. These things aren't just messy piles of rules. They are built according to a specific, detailed plan. That plan, that blueprint, that is the legal construction.
Now, this isn't just a neat academic trick. This new, clear understanding of legal constructions has paved the way for some incredibly powerful, real-world tools that are changing how legal professionals work.
I mean, once you start thinking in terms of blueprints, you can do some amazing things. You can build software that can find these blueprints buried in thousands of court cases. You can create visual maps of complicated legal ideas. You can completely change how you teach law to students. You can even start to build a whole new, much more logical map of the entire legal system. This is where theory stops being theory and becomes a powerful tool.
So, we've gone from a muddled 19th century idea to a clear, practical 21st century concept. But the story isn't over. In fact, understanding these legal blueprints is probably more important right now than it has ever been.
It's funny, even with all the confusion in his own work, Jeffrey knew he was onto something big. He predicted this idea would open up an inexhaustible field for research and discoveries. He was absolutely right. It just took us a century and a half to develop the tools to truly realize his vision.
So why does this matter so much today? Because more and more of our reality is becoming virtual. Smart contracts, digital assets, online governance. To make sure law works properly in these digital spaces, we need crystal clear blueprints. We need to be master architects of our virtual legal world, and legal constructions are the most essential tools in our toolkit.
And that brings us full circle. The puzzle that Jering started has at last been solved. His incredible foresight has been proven right, and as Professor Kiskinov so perfectly puts it, we can look back and say with gratitude, rejoice, Jering.
So, I'll leave you with this question to think about. As our world gets more and more complex and more virtual, what are the new legal blueprints we're going to need? What new structures do we need to start designing right now to build a just and fair future?